Hello. All right. We are ready to go here. It's July 3rd, almost the 4th of July. So happy 4th to all of you guys. Looks like we've got a good crowd here for right before the holiday. Let me just move. Man, my screen has stuff all over it here.
I resemble that remark.
I bet. All right. Okay, here we go. I think I got it under control now. No guarantees, but I think. All right. So one of the things that I am doing now this week, and I promised to do this last week and I didn't get to it, but here comes the promise again. I'm going to put some dates together for different events, different, not necessarily live events where you come out, but Zoom events. And one of them we actually did do last week. We did the one for the AIO Dominator. And that was a really good overview. If you guys haven't seen that, I've got the sales page up and we put the video on the sales page now. So everything you need to know about it, or if you want to be an affiliate, you can also sell it. And that's going to be a really hot thing. AIO is going to be, it's already, people are starting to talk about it. They're coming out of the woodwork. The internet marketing space is going to devour this thing like donuts and coffee on a Sunday morning. So it's going to be big. I'm already seeing other like really hokey products hitting the market. You know, when the shit starts showing up on Warrior Forum, it's like going to be a shit show.
I've seen some
Copycats.
things. Yeah, I've seen some things, but I don't know how good they are or what they're about. They
Yeah.
seem like it's a similar thing, but I can't tell.
Yeah. I honestly, I haven't seen anything come out through Warrior Forum in a long time that was actually worth its salt. It seems like that's everybody selling stuff for $7 and they're basically just trying to build mailing lists, I think. You know, the higher quality products are on, ClickBank and JVZoo and even that, I mean, there's even a lot of junk on there too. But it's like when you get the internet marketing space flooding in on stuff, things can go pretty sideways really quickly. They're they're not uh, they're not always trying to have your best interest in mind, so to speak. They're trying to move product. So, and that's good for them, but not so good for those that are buying the products. But anyway, one of the events that I'm going to put together, it's going to be for doing the white label. And I know there's quite a few of you already that have jumped in on the white label and have the Quantum will also be able to white label the AIO Dominator software. So if you want to enter the market and actually have a good viable product to bring to market, you will be able to do that. So that's two different things. And then the key thing with the AI white label, whether you're doing the AIO Dominator or you're doing the Quantum Suite, you literally get the ability to pick and choose which tools you want. So what I would recommend, if you're looking for a product, let's say you're not set on anything to sell, or you've already got an audience and you've already got a product and you want to add an AI component product to it, it's a perfect solution because it's already built. You're literally just putting your name on it, changing, the tools out. If you want to, you can use it as is. You can just literally put your name on it if you want to. It could be that simple. I would recommend, if you're going to do a white label, I would recommend that you, at the very minimum, change the tool names and the icons, which is super easy to do. And you want to brand it anyway. Like if you're let's say you're in a different niche, like we've got some people doing white labels in the realtor niche. And I got to tell you, the listing tool, I've gotten feedback from a couple of really good realtors that say they've never seen anything like it. They're using the listing tool to build their real estate listings. And like an example, one did an open house on Father's Day, not expecting anybody to show up because traditionally that's a poor showing for Father's Day. She used the listing pro, created a listing, and she said she had more people than she's ever seen show up to the open house. So it makes a big difference when you're in any kind of market, and this goes to marketing. When you're saying the same thing that everyone else is, you get lost in the dust. You're just in a cloud. You don't stand out, and there's no way you're going to get seen. It's just like you're in a snowstorm. It's in a blizzard. You can't be seen in that. But when you stand out, that's the way you get eyeballs to you. That's the way you get attention. So anything that you can do, and AI is really, really good for this stuff. And I've even gotten better at the prompting as I learn how to do more and more of the advanced prompting. And there's like recipes for the prompting. And one of the things that I found, I've always said you have to tell the tool what it is. Like if you're using Chat GPT or Perplexity or Cloud or Gemini or any of them, you have to start your prompt telling it who it is, what its specialty is. That is really important. So you have to say, you are a, and then after you tell it what it is, this is something that I was doing wrong. I was telling it who it was, but then I wasn't telling it what its knowledge base was all the time. And I noticed when I would tell it what its knowledge base was, I got much better results. So that should just be part of the thing. And what you want to, the way you want to say it. This is like several different marketers that are really good at AI. We all kind of got together the other day and we're discussing what's been working. And this particular phrase works really, really good. You say, you are whatever, a copywriter in the whatever industry, and you have a deep love for, and then you tell it the specific specialty. Like you might say, you're an outdoor writer with a deep love for deep sea sport fishing for swordfish. Really, really specific. And then it's going to take that and it's going to give you really, really intense copywriting, really emotional toward that. And then you also want to tell it how to write. And this is another one where I was getting pretty good results, but not as good as I could have. And this is what you want to say. If you're doing this for marketing, you want to, instead of telling it, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but instead of telling it to write like Perry Belcher or write like John Carlton or write like, any of these famous copywriters, you want to tell it you want to write as a direct response copywriter or a direct response marketer. Because now you're giving it the framework. Because here's the problem with telling it write like Perry Belcher or write like Craig Duswalt or whoever you want to emulate. If you tell it that, what's going to happen is it's going to go look at all of their blogs. It's going to go look at all of their public forward-facing stuff, not necessarily their sales copy. It's going to look at their personal writing and it's going to emulate their personal style, not their marketing style. That's a problem If you're expecting spectacular marketing copy and you just tell it, write like Perry Belcher, it's going to write like Perry Belcher writes a letter to his mother, not how Perry writes a sales letter. But when you frame it as write as a direct response marketer or direct response copywriter, either one, now you're really framing it. You're really boxing it in as to what you want, how you want it to act and respond. This stuff is really important. This is a lot of the stuff that I'm sharing with you guys in case you're doing this stuff outside of quantum. Like I'm putting this stuff in quantum, so it's doing it for you. You don't have to know how to do that. That's the magic of the tools inside quantum is you're getting, as I learn, you're getting the best of what I'm learning. But I know some of you are using AI outside of quantum, like to write your whole sales letters and stuff like that. So this is going to help you in those cases. So another thing too, if you're writing sales letters, if you're using AI to write sales letters, uh, and this is not from my personal experience. This is from a collective group of people that are testing and doing some pretty high level stuff with AI. The majority of the group that has tested Gemini Pro, I think it's 2.5, they say that is by far the best one to write sales copy. I've been using Perplexity. I think Perplexity has a much better angle toward business than ChatGPT, but for the ones that have been testing them all side by side, they're all coming up with the same thing. Gemini Pro 2.5 if you want to write sales copy. But same thing, same rules apply. You still have to prompt the engine correctly to get it to do spectacular output for you. So tell it, you're a you're a specialist in whatever industry with a deep love for, and please write as you are a direct response copywriter. And if you do that, you should get spectacular results. And you also, you have to also prompt it with who's your avatar. And with that, you can take right out of quantum, you can take your build a buyer profile. Here's who we're marketing to. Here's what's going on in their head. The more you tell it before you ask it to do something, the better the results will be. So I know some people in the beginning were saying, oh, write like Perry Belcher and John Carlton and this person and that person. That's a bad idea because it doesn't know what that looks like. You're trying to make something that doesn't exist, and what you're going to do is you're going to force hallucinations because there is no example of blending these people together. It doesn't know how to do that, so it's going to come up with gobbledygook. So that was something I think Gina did that when I first told her to tell it who to write like. She gave it a bunch of different people, and she's like, "This is coming up with some really weird stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, you just gave it a bunch of lewds, and now it's hallucinating because it doesn't know what the hell you're talking about." So be careful with the instruction. Be very clear with the instruction, and you should get some spectacular results. Now, here's another thing, even going deeper down the rabbit hole. And hopefully this is of interest to you guys. If there's something else you want me to talk about, just let me know and I'll change direction. But this stuff, I'm just really fascinated with this stuff. And it's really cool to keep learning every day, like how to get it better and better. And I've joined this mastermind where, a bunch of us are doing this stuff at a much higher level. And it's really cool to like put all of our brains together and collaborate. And one of the things that I learned this week was this, and I knew this stuff intuitively. I just wasn't sure like what the parameters were. But AI works in, or I don't know if it works in JSON, but that is the language that it really understands. And I know none of us speak JSON, right? So it's kind of hard for us to speak a language we don't understand. If you're a programmer, yeah, JSON might be your second language or whatever. But like if you're trying, let's say you're trying to do an image, and I know you've all done this. I know you've all created an image and it wasn't quite right. It wasn't perfect. And you go back and you say, oh, well, could you remake that image, but uh, change just this about it? Like change the hair color or change the eye color or whatever. And you get a completely different image. Even if you reference a base image, it's not a perfect science. But what you do, you can upload the image or reference the image and say, please analyze this in JSON. And it will give you an output back of exactly what it sees in the image in its own language. Now, what you can do is you can take the JSON of how it sees the eye color and you can change the JSON, give it back, and it will only change that aspect. That's really powerful. So understanding how it sees and how it views the images and how it's analyzing, it's just like you're talking to your prospect and you're using the the magical tools in the quantum suite to understand what their mind read them, understand what they're thinking. With JSON, you can understand what the AI is thinking and how to communicate better with it. Arbo, go ahead. You had a question?
Yeah, don't you already have a app in the suite that does something like that? Because I know I played around with it, excuse me, and I realized that it doesn't do well with if you don't it doesn't do well with the face.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, because I did play with it where I um I had something that I really loved it, but it forgot to put the cake in the thing. So I used the other thing and I did it and it's like the dress was the same, the how I was standing was the same, everything. But I said, "Who is that woman?"
Yeah, well that's the thing about using the JSON language to analyze an image that you want to change before you give it new instruction, because now you can give it the new instruction using the JSON descriptors, and it has a much more clear understanding of what you want to edit and how you want it edited.
But it still doesn't have there a retouchify. That's the one I tried.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And
there's still some limitation. Like your code is on top of that, right? So that
yeah,
there's still some limitations with the facial, I guess.
yeah, and the retouchify that was made before I knew this new trick.
Okay.
So this stuff is like if you're working raw with the AI, all the stuff I'm talking about right now is like it's like the raw workings. So you could take the raw workings and create the GPTs. Like I can go back. This would almost be a full-time job for me at this point. It's just going back and updating all of the tools with what I know now versus what I knew when I created the tools. And the tools are awesome. But it's just like this stuff is changing and updating and growing so fast. It's hard to keep up with. But the tools, the way they are, like the quantum suite of tools, it's so far ahead of most people that they'll never catch up. But it's just like I'm learning this stuff really, really quickly right now of how to make it even better. My problem, my issue is time of, how much time is in the day for me to do what I need to do. I can learn and assimilate the stuff much faster than I can implement. So it's pretty cool stuff. Uh, Jill, go ahead. There you go.
There I am. I have a question. I was just looking at it online while I was reading it, and it kind of goes to the my white label. One of the really important things that I'm trying to figure out is how to take an image, produce a line drawing with the image or a construction drawing, and then turn it into a shop drawing so I can send the furniture to the factory completed.
Mhm.
I could add the elevations and add the measurements, but I'm looking online and it looks like they're saying like some things AI can do, but then it has to go into AutoCAD. I have we're producing 83 different designs and each one takes like 2 hours. So I'm trying to minimize that.
Okay. So you might be able to create some of your own GPTs using this JSON technique.
Okay.
So what you're doing is you're asking it to take the image and analyze it in JSON. Now it's going to give you the code of how it sees it. So
Okay.
what that's doing, it's giving you a much more effective way to tell it what you want it to do.
Okay.
Because you need, for what you're doing, you need it to be very specific.
Yeah.
You can't have it just being willy-nilly, you need like technical drawings made
Mm-hmm.
like that. So I don't know how much of it you'll actually be able to do accurately enough to pump into AutoCAD. But once you get into AutoCAD, then you can really have control. But like you said, you might be able to do a lot of the front end legwork with this and then
Yeah.
get it into AutoCAD and kind of tweak it and finalize it and send it off to production.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's a good question you and I could explore for our apprentice meeting, see what we can come up
Sure.
with.
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'll send you an email about it too.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Thanks, John.
Sounds good. All right. Any other questions before I
Hey,
move?
John. Yeah, just had a quick comment to Jill's question.
Okay.
It sounds like you can integrate ChatGPT or Claude is really good at pumping out Python scripts. And then once you get a Python script, you can set up a Zapier integration to pipe that information out of Claude or ChatGPT into AutoCAD to do all that kind of stuff. So there is a way to automate that function, but it requires Zapier knowledge and visibility and understanding how to create the Python scripts and all that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
awesome. So you said, okay, I think I got that down. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
And one of the things that Apex AI, like we do, we help businesses do that type of automation stuff. So yeah.
Do
Cool.
I have
Sounds
your
like an interesting.
information?
Yeah, I can pop it into the chat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Craig, put your contact and the info in there for anybody that wants it.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the other thing that you can do to analyze or use that command of analyze this with JSON would be an actual sales letter. Let's say this might be a much better way to do your sales letters rather than saying, write this like Perry Belcher or write this like John Carlton, is take a sales letter that is really good, that you really like, and say, please analyze this in JSON. And then at that point, it's going to give you the actual breakdown. And then you can say, okay, build me a framework for marketing copy based on this model. And then at that point, and that's the way John Benson is doing it. I finally figured out how he's doing his Benson.ai. That's how he's doing it. He's doing it with frameworks. He's taking famous copywriters. He's he's basically figured out that method of copying their frameworks and then generating really spectacular sales copy out of it. So that's kind of like the magic behind. And again, knowing this, I've put off making tools inside Quantum for writing sales letters because I wasn't quite sure how to really get it dialed in. But now what I can do is I can go back to the drawing board and I can actually create frameworks based on different copywriters or different modes of what they're doing as far as copy. And then I can put in, like I could put in a Perry Belcher framework. And then instead of you asking it to write like Perry Belcher, the framework is already in there to do that. And it's going to write like he writes his sales copy. And then I could do the same thing with like John Carlton and all these famous copywriters. I could even go back to David Ogilvy. All I have to do is find some of his best work and say, please analyze this and create me a framework for it. And then then we can create the GPTs and build more tools inside of Quantum. Like I could, if time was not an issue, usually people have money issues. I have time issues. If time were not an issue, I could go in there and I could create all the famous copywriters' copy styles, and then you could have a sales letter written in anybody's style of copy. And this is something that any of you would be able to do with a white label. If you got a white label of Quantum, you could build a white label around copywriting, just copywriting. And you could sell that just like Benson sells his, and you could make a fortune selling the stuff. You know, there's all kinds of opportunity in creating a set of tools for any given niche. It's like just look whatever niche you're in, whatever industry, look for what are the problems people are having and what could GPTs do to solve those problems. And it'll give you a blueprint of exactly what you need to build as far as a tool set for them. So it's really, really, you guys are missing out on a huge opportunity if you're not really thinking this through and thinking about what you could do with this. Because I know you all, you know, a lot of you serve different markets. A lot of you maybe know a market because you're in it as a hobbyist or something. You know, like for instance, one of my hobbies is big game sport fishing. I could create a set of GPTs to make people better fishermen, you know, and they could go in there and use the tools and probably catch more fish. And fishermen, this is something about hobbies. And you can look at fishermen, golfers, whatever hobby. Generally, when people have a hobby, they're fairly fanatical about it. And they tend to spend a lot of money on it. Like, you wouldn't believe how much money a golfer will spend on golf gear, or fishermen, the same thing. Like every season, a new set of fishing lures comes out, and that fisherman's got to buy them all. The fish's taste didn't change, right? The fish doesn't care really what color the jig is. All they want is something to eat, something that flies by them and it looks like food. But the fishermen, it's like the manufacturers of fishing gear, they're not manufacturing the shit to catch fish. They're manufacturing the shit to catch fishermen. Right? That's what they're doing. They're manufacturing products to catch fishermen.
Well, the fish don't have cash.
Yeah, exactly. The fish is not their ideal customer.
Nope.
You're not trying to catch the fish. You're trying to catch the fisherman. And this is a really important lesson. I've run into this in many different instances. Like a perfect example is in the past, I've had several clients that operated in the rehab space, like drug and alcohol rehab. And they were always focusing their copy toward the person with the problem. I said, that's not your customer. The person with the problem doesn't typically acknowledge they have a problem. Your customer is grandma. Grandma is the one that's going to spend her money to fix the grandson or the granddaughter or the parents. That's your customer. It's who's paying the bill. The fish doesn't pay the bill for the fishing equipment, right? The fish could care less. It's just looking for food, right? So always be very clear on who your actual customer is. Sometimes your customer is not the one that the problem is actually solved for. It's the one that wants to provide the solution for the problem for the person. So in the case of the fisherman, it's that is the customer. It's not the fish. So keep that in mind. This applies to any industry across the board. You've got to really figure out the segmentation first, where the most profit is, because in any given segment, any market is going to have multiple segments. Those segments are going to have different people with different problems at different levels. The person typically with the biggest problems, not always this way, but typically the ones with the biggest problems that you can solve is going to be where the most profit is. If you're solving small problems, don't expect massive profits, right? If it's not that painful, people are going to tend to ignore it until it becomes a real problem, a real pain. Then they'll spend the money for it. And like I said, the bigger the problem, the more they will spend to solve it.
But I'm lazy. I don't want to solve big problems.
Well, you don't have to. Just find them, identify them, and then find the guy that is and just become his affiliate. You don't have to work hard to. Don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating hard work here. I'm advocating.
I thought, yeah, well, I thought maybe you would change there, John, that you were going to
Oh,
advocate
no.
for hard work.
Oh no. I'm advocating for smart work, not hard work. Smart work is always better. But if you're not doing that, you're working way too hard. I always keep coming back to that. It seems like I'm always back on that almost every week. It's really important. When you guys hear me say something over and over and over, I'm not saying it just because it's fun for me to say it. I'm saying it because it's important. You should really pay attention. If there's something I'm hitting over and over and it's not sinking in, it might be one of those things where you might want to put it into your thought bank and think about it a little bit. And you'll realize I'm right, and you'll realize how it correlates to you specifically. Because that's really what it's all about. I'm trying to correlate these messages to you so you make more money and you work less. You don't work harder, you work smarter. That's all about getting your time back. Like, I've said it a couple of times here today. My biggest problem is time. It's not money. I know how to make money. I just don't know how to make more time. Time is my biggest problem. So being able to solve that for me is worth a lot. I pay out a lot of money every month to get stuff done.
So one of the things that I've heard of and I've seen examples of is crowdsourcing. And you might even do it in terms of offering a prize money, so it only gets paid to the winner for one thing, but all kinds of teams can work it. This is an X prize idea.
Oh yeah.
And whoever, so all that time, energy, people's efforts can be put into it, and one person will win and get paid, and you'll benefit, and the world will benefit from everybody's effort.
Yeah, a perfect platform for that is called 99 Designs.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I've used that multiple times for different projects. And this was before quantum. So keep that in mind. It's before quantum when I needed logos done. I'm not a graphic artist. That's a long way away from my specialty. And when I needed a logo, I would always go to 99 Designs and I would put a bid out there, and you basically, it says 99, but that's just a starting point. If you put $99 out for your bid, you're going to get the bottom of the barrel designers. So I'd usually put out like, $200 or $300. And basically I'm saying I'll pay $200 or $300 for the best logo design. And then I describe what I'm doing, describe the industry, describe who I'm focused on, and kind of what I'm looking for. And then you get a bunch of designers all competing, and they're all designing you logos, showing you, hey, what about this? What about this? And as they put them up, the other designers can see what you're liking. So let's say that you got 20 designs up in front of you and you start scoring them and how you like them. The other designers now are looking at that and they're getting to know your preferences. So they collectively are designing together, making you what you want. It's a spectacular resource. But ultimately, at the end, only one person's going to win. One person's going to get paid, but you got an army of talent working for you. So, like what Pam said, that's a great way to go. And I'm sure there's other resources, but that one specifically, if you need design work, like you want a letterhead design, you want a logo design, you want something like branding designed, all of that kind of stuff, that's a great resource. Arba, go ahead.
I think Jillian had her hand up before me.
I think we got her. I think she just forgot to put her hand.
No, I put it back up again, but you could go
Oh,
ahead. I'll go after.
Okay.
okay. So, well, I'm going to take you off subject. Um, you may already have this in quantum. I'm not sure. But as you were talking, I was thinking about all these personality tests. You know, they got Myers-Briggs,
Uh-huh.
DISC, this, and that. Is there something like that in quantum?
I don't have something in quantum like that, but there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out in the market that does that. And let me see if I can
Right. But
find.
I'm still trying to I'm easing my way towards getting white label because I know my market and I know what they're in need of or what I can sell, and I know that those kind of things that's something there's of interest.
Okay, so let me show you something. I had this done a while back and it was really cool. And I don't remember the exact website, but maybe it'll be in here. It was called your Fascination Advantage Report. And basically, you fill out a form, you fill out a profile, and the more honest you are, the better this thing is going to be. So you've got to really answer the questions honestly. But this thing, it will put you into two boxes, and then it shows you like how they all fit together. So let me see if there's howtofascinate.com. I think that is the website.
Okay.
So, and I did this thing quite a while ago. This was several years ago. And as I was combing through files looking for something the other day, it just popped up. And I'm like, oh man, I forgot about that. That's really cool. So I put a copy on my desktop. That's why I had this at my fingertips right now. But this thing, it really gets in. And I got to tell you, when I did it, it was so on the money. It was uncanny. So it gives you, all of this deep understanding of yourself, but it lines up your primary advantage and your secondary advantage into a cross pattern to figure out like what your strengths and weaknesses are. And
Right, kind of like the Clifton strengths, it seems like.
yeah,
But
that's what
what
it's
I'm
here.
looking for is obviously, you keep telling us how we should be able to make money, all of these tools, and I'm thinking and I'm probably if I get the white label, I can do something like that. I've seen where people love to do tests and they love to do analysis. And so basically, you have them do an analysis of where they're at with their marketing. And I tend to work with, like right now, I work with a lot of people who are just getting started or struggling with their marketing. And it's like you almost want them to take this test that it's obviously going to say you need help.
Yeah.
And this is what you need help with. So that's what I was kind of getting at is if it was a part of quantum, or I guess I'd have to make it myself so that I could just direct people to
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
take my test and let's see where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what this thing is here, because it lines you up. It lines up like your primary advantage and your secondary, and then the crossover gives you your profile. So I'm the maestro.
Man, that sounds like you, all right.
Yeah, did you see this thing up here?
Yeah.
Right, but how could I use it? That's what I, because it looks like you have it all set up, this landing page. I'm looking at and everything. And so that if I took the test, or, it's going to go to you.
No, this is not my program. This is
Oh,
I actually took myself.
oh, gotcha.
And
Yeah, I
it
don't,
analyzed me, and I'm like, holy shit, this thing is like so accurate. It's uncanny.
yeah. And
But
it's a lead magnet.
yeah, and I think the woman that put this together, it's howtofascinate.com, and I'm sure she's still around. This I did this several years ago. Um, but I think she had some kind of a component of this that you could either white label or you could become an affiliate of, because she's got a whole program to like help you understand your strengths and your weaknesses in business. But seeing that could give you the idea of, hey, I could do something similar to this. And it's a matter of coming back, maybe taking what she's done and going into Perplexity or into Gemini or any of these and say, could you break this into a framework into JSON? And then it would tell you, it would basically like give you the blueprint. And then you could come back and you could say, okay, how would I build my own program for this? And it could potentially just write you the code.
Well, I'm going to get on the same bus that Tim is on. I'm not trying to do all that work. I'm
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like they said, go over and check her out, that howtofascinate.com, and
uh-huh.
see what she's got. Or look around for other programs that are, they're basically personality tests. It's
Right.
to
Right.
identify your personality. There's another one, the color, gotta forget what her name is, but she does the color thing, and there's 4 colors, and it's basically how to sell. She puts it into a sales program of how to identify who you're talking
Bank.
to.
Bank.
Yes,
That's bank code.
Yeah, bank. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm familiar with all of those. I don't I've taken a lot of them. That's why I'm familiar with them, but I was trying to actually come up with a revenue generating for my target audience,
yeah,
and they're not trying to get all deep into that. I just want to create something that says, here's where you're at, knowing that your style, you're not going to do it. So pay me to do it.
yeah. Well, you're basically talking about product development and figuring out. The thing is, you have to figure out not just how to make something cool like that, but what someone would do with it and why they would want it. Like it's Cherry Tree is the one from Bank. And she made a presentation that just sells the hell out of that system, because as she's describing it, she's hitting on key elements that you really want. She's figured out what you desire and how her unique mechanism is going to fulfill it. So, from a big idea perspective, she comes out with the promise of make more sales, which we've all heard. We all know, oh, okay, when I hear that, that's kind of bullshit. But then she plugs in her unique mechanism. by using the bank method or bank training. And then you're like, oh, well, that's intriguing. What's that? I've never heard of that. So she's done all three things there that are important to a big idea: the promise, the unique mechanism that delivers the result, and she said it in a way you've never heard it before. So that is an attention grabber. So she did a spectacular job on the front end with the first step. Then she takes you into a presentation where now she's explaining how it works, and she's walking you through the process of how you're going to get the delivery of that promise. So now she's indoctrinating you to the idea of you're going to get what you want. And she's got the thing that's going to deliver the result. There's no better way to sell something than to show somebody how it's actually going to give them what they want, what you promised them. What that does is that increases demand and desire for the product. The further you go and the more they're convinced and believe that this thing is going to get them what they want, the more they're going to want to buy it. The less that will keep them from making the actual purchase. And again, once you've done that, once you've created demand and desire, the only thing standing in the way of a sale now is an objection. So if you can eliminate the objections, make your offer, you're going to make money. There's no way around it. But you've got to do all that stuff. So it's not just figuring out what the product is. Product development's great, and there's a lot of people that are really good at it. There's people that develop great products left and right. They just don't know how to sell them. They're working ass backwards. You know, an ad agency doesn't do that. An ad agency goes out and they survey the market. They figure out what does the market need, and then they build products for it. It's a lot easier that way. But if you've got an idea that you think is great and you know there's a market for it, just like take a step back, just take a step out of the product development realm and go into the prospect. Go, how is this going to help them? Why do they want it? How am I going to show them this is going to get them what they want? And now you're creating your marketing for it. The marketing is more important than the product. And I'm going to say this at the risk of sounding like a scam artist, but it's true. It doesn't matter how good your product is. It's how good you can sell it is how much money you're going to make. Now, I'm not encouraging you to make a bunch of shit and try and push crap on people because I don't believe in that. But I can tell you, I have been so irritated by people that are selling crap in my marketplace, and they're not better at selling than I am. They're just working harder at it. and they're putting out garbage, and they're selling more than I am because they're working harder at pushing garbage. And if you're in an industry where you've got people that are really good at sales, but they have crappy products, it just makes it more difficult for you to stand out because they're, and I'm not going to say they're better at it than you are because they're not. They're just more willing. You know, for some reason, a lot of times product developers are just not willing to sell. They've got great products, but they're just not willing to do what it takes to sell them. This is where affiliates come in and are invaluable. If you have affiliates, their specialty is how to sell stuff. That's how they make their money. So if you partner up with affiliate networks or good affiliates, then you can, if you want to be a product developer and you don't want to mess with sales, find a good affiliate network or find a good sales team. Find somebody that's going to do that for you, because that is the most important thing. It doesn't matter how good your stuff is. It doesn't matter how good a product developer you are. If you don't have a sales wing that's going to push that product and sell it, it doesn't matter. You're going to be stuck in the sand. And that's a horrible place to be. Yeah, it's looking across the grass is going to look greener because it is greener. So, all right, Jill, go ahead.
Hi. Okay. So remember the other day we were talking about the big idea of
Mhm.
that model room, right? And
Yeah.
not calling it a model room. So
Mhm.
I was just in perplexity and so much comes up. So now with the new language of how to ask it, I want to okay, you said, the big idea,
Mhm.
say it in a way that's never been heard before, but it's a package deal that this is what you get for the model room, and then after the model room, the next thing leads to the bigger project. So I was overwhelmed because perplexity gives you like 10 different choices. So what's a good way to ask that question?
So I've noticed that too with Perplexity, it'll give you multiple choices. And then sometimes, like, I'll just flat out ask it. I'll say, okay, if you were me, which one would you go with? Which seems to be the best choice? Sometimes it doesn't want to answer that because it doesn't have enough information.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you have to pre-frame it with, okay, here's my goal. Here's what I'm trying to do. You have to give it more context for it to
Okay.
make a decision of what's the best for you. So I think when it gives you multiple choices like that, it's because it doesn't have enough context to really.
Okay.
So for you to get the valuable information that you need as a business owner to make that decision, you have to give it enough information to help you make the decision.
Okay. Not just ask the question, be very specific.
Yeah, yeah. Generic questions with AI, with any AI, generic questions are going to get you generic answers. And as a business owner, we don't want generic answers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We need to move emotion. We need to really get to the core of why is someone going to buy this product? How do we convey the value and all of that? So context is key in getting AI to put out valuable information for you. There's nobody going to work harder for you than this little AI thing. But you have to, it's just like an employee. If you just, hire someone and you don't give them any direction, you're going to just kind of waste your time with them. And the AI is no different. It's the same thing. The better an instructor you are, the better student it's going to be, and the better output it's going to put out.
Great, thank you.
So, absolutely. Ahmed, go ahead.
You mentioned you were able to train the virtual answering AI person. How have you done that? And is there a tool in all the tools you provided that does that so you could become the virtual assistant?
Okay, so there's things called bots or agents. A lot of times they're referring to them as agents now, and an agent really is just a GPT. Technically, Chat GPT is an agent. It's just a generic agent. It's kind of like somebody that's there to just help direct and guide you. You can take that agent and you can turn them into a specialist. But the thing is, when you open chat, I'm just going to refer to it as chat. It could be Chat GPT, it could be Gemini, it could be any AI program. When you open it up, it's just got a window there for you to ask a question. I typically don't ask it a question until I give it a lot of direction, like telling it, who it is, telling it what it specializes in, telling it what it has a deep love for, telling it, how to write for me, like write as a direct response copywriter. Once I get all of that, I've kind of trained it and I've kind of created an agent. So this agent now is mine. No one else has access to that agent. That's mine in my chat window, right? And you'll notice if you get a specialized agent and then you go off topic, you go on to another topic, the answers aren't going to be as good. So what you have to do is you have to close that window or open a new window and train a new agent for that. So that's where you can get really, really good results out of AI. If you just have the same string going on, like you open Chat GPT and you just start asking it random questions about all kinds of stuff, it's not going to be good at anything. It's not going to be really a specialized tool. But like you can save those. You can open a new window and now the old one goes into your library. You can go back to that one anytime. Like you've got that agent or that bot trained now. So you can go back to them 2 years from now and you can pick up right where you left off. They will remember the conversation like it just happened.
How do you activate them as part of your answering service?
So if you're trying to do this like on your own website, then you have to get some sort of a service where you can create these bots and use them on your own site. Like we've got the tool called Build a Becky. Build a Becky is just that. You create the agent and then it makes a widget for you and you can put that widget onto your site. So that's where you can take it out and you can build an agent for your customers to work with. In fact, we're working on one right now. For lack of a better word, we're going to call it, I'm calling it the John bot. It's basically me and we're training it. Brady has gone back through all of my YouTube videos back to 2018. He's downloaded every YouTube video I've done since 2018, put it into a massive jumbo text file. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that huge jumbo text file probably into Claude, because Claude will handle a massive amount of text. And I'm going to tell it, can you please analyze this, remove any duplicates, and make me an FAQ of all the questions I've ever answered. And then I'm going to say, make me a knowledge base of all the information I've ever shared. And between the FAQ and the knowledge base, I'm going to be able to train the John bot to answer any question that I know how to answer. And typically there's a finite number of questions that I've been asked. Like I can't think at this point right now, past 2018, I can't think of a unique question that ever got asked prior to that. I've been doing this stuff since 2010. I've been on the calls answering questions and all that, but we've got the recordings back to about 2018. And prior to that, I'm thinking back, way back to the beginning. I don't think there's a question from 2018 to 2010 in that 8 years that hasn't been asked again in the next 8 years. So I think I've probably got it all, which is a massive, massive knowledge base, because I've answered questions about all kinds of aspects of business, all kinds of aspects of marketing, all kinds of niches. And I think I've used some really good analogies to help people understand what I'm talking about. I've done, I can say the same thing 10 different ways to 10 different people so that person gets it. 9 other people might not get it said that way, but the one person will, and then I'll come back and say it a different way so the others will get it. And I've done that over and over and over. So, and it's fun for me because I can tell when I say something a different way and I see everyone's eyes light up, I'm like, yes, I nailed it. I got it. I finally figured out how to say it. Because that's a lot of magic right there. You can you can try and tell somebody something in what you think is the language they're going to hear, but sometimes they just don't hear it. Sometimes they're not ready to hear it. It's in some cases, it's just a matter of timing. You can hear the same thing over and over and over, but until you're to a place where you're ready to take it, it just goes in one ear and out the other. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, why didn't you tell me that before? And I'm like, well, I kind of been telling you that for years. You weren't ready to hear it. So that's a real thing. So, all right. Anybody else? I saw somebody waving at me and that any other questions? All right. Okay.
I've got a couple questions on Claude.
Yeah.
Does Claude, number one, give track changes, and also does it have current data up to present date? Like chat used to be just 2021 and so on.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not actually sure, like up to date information on Claude because I haven't used it yet. I know several people that use it, and what they say Claude is really good at is really good at large volumes of text.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you wanted to analyze War and Peace,
Mm-hmm.
it'll do it. But you try and do that with Chat GPT, and it's just gonna give you an overview. It won't really consume all the data. It's
Mm-hmm.
not meant to do that. But
Okay.
Claude is for large volumes, large bodies of work. So that's where it shines. I don't know that it's that great at asking it up to date questions, like up to the minute things. I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah. And does it do a track changes? So it would train me as a writer.
Oh yes, yeah, they all do that.
Oh, okay.
Like they all have it's a chat. When you start a new chat, that is like
Mm-hmm.
you're creating a bot.
Mm-hmm.
And that agent that's answering your questions, that agent is the only one that you're communicating with. It's a unique agent, and that is saved in your history. So if you want to pick up the conversation, you could literally, open your computer tomorrow and pick up right where you left off. If you want to start a new conversation, you'll actually get a new agent and you'll start from scratch from that point forward. So it's important that you don't go all over the place with these agents. Keep them specific. You can have an unlimited number of them. You can have 50 different specialists helping you with your business, but don't try and make one agent a know-it-all. That doesn't work very well. Have a bunch of them. It's like Perry Belcher said, if you could have an unlimited number of specialists work for you at no cost, how many would you want? Would you just want one? You'd probably want hundreds of them, hundreds of agents that knew specialty things of how to do specialized things for you in your business. And that's what you have here. Most people don't realize that. They open up one chat window and they treat it like their friend and they just talk to it on any given topic that comes into their head, and they get generic results that are, not the best. They might have a good conversation going with it, but they're never going to get real detailed information. It's never going to be as good as it could be. Let's just say. Yeah, go ahead, Ahmed.
Can you repeat the names of the copywriters you were talking about slower than you normally do? Like you said, Barry Belcher, there's a couple other names, John Otto, so
Oh,
forth.
yeah, John Carlton. So those are copywriters. I was referring to copywriters like Perry Belcher. I like Perry's copy style. But the problem is if you ask it to write like Perry Belcher, it's going to go look up Perry Belcher and it's going to see all of his blogs and his personal stuff. And that's not necessarily the style of copy that you want. You want his direct response copy style. You want the way he writes his sales letters.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with the names. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah. So it's John Carlton is a famous copywriter. You've got a whole bunch of them. You can actually just go to Chat GPT or Perplexity and say, who are the best direct response copywriters? That's what you're looking for. Direct response copy. It'll give you a whole list of them. and then you can go look them up and you can see, which one's right in the best style. Oh, here's another this is another really good resource. It's called Swipe Copy. I think it's swipecopy.ai, but it's all of the best sales letters throughout history. And you can go through, and if you find one that matches your niche, matches your liking, then you can take that, you can copy it, and then you can take that over to your agent and say, could you please analyze this? Could you analyze this copy and turn it into a framework for me to sell my stuff? And now you've just taken the knowledge of one of the best copywriters on the planet and you've turned it into your agent. That's really, really powerful. And that's what John Benson has been doing with his Benson AI. He's taken some of the best copywriters and he's just cloned their frameworks. But you can't clone a framework by saying write like so and so. Like if John Carlton is the one that you want to emulate, if you say write like John Carlton, the problem is it's going to go look at all John Carlton's blogs and his personal stuff, and it's not going to know to focus on his direct response style. So the key is to find a really good sales letter that John Carlton wrote, load that up, let the AI analyze the sales letter written by John Carlton and say, please create a framework from this body of work, create a framework to write marketing copy for me. Here's my product, here's my avatar, my buyer profile. Use my information and that framework to now write copy. That is going to get you leaps and bounds forward on the writing style and the effectiveness of that sales copy, because it's going to follow his format, it's going to follow his framework, and it's just going to swap out your stuff for his. So this is, I mean, there's copywriters out there that will charge you $30, $40, $50,000 to write you a sales letter. And you can just copy their framework and do it yourself. Have your agent. Like, these little agents are worth their weight in gold. The thing is, what makes them valuable is the training that you put into them. And that's really what I've done with Quantum. I'm just building agents for you. I've got 50 different agents sitting in there waiting to work for you, and I've already trained them for you. And now, like, what I know now, like, just even as of this week, now I feel like I can probably go in and I can probably create copywriting special agents inside Quantum. And that will be my next trick, because that's a piece I'm missing. I'm missing, like, write an entire sales letter for me, because I wasn't quite sure how to frame it up, and now I've got the firing solution. So that's going to be really powerful. So cool stuff. I might even have a drop down, like, which copywriter do you want to emulate? You could pick from the frameworks. So can you tell that, like, I'm having a lot of fun with this stuff? This is like really, really, really cool technology. I absolutely love technology that works hard so I don't have to. So, all right, anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
You said the AI was taking the notes from this meeting. Is that going to be shared as well, or is that going to be on the website?
Yeah, are you talking about the John bot?
Sorry, like the content of this recording.
Oh yeah, this recording is available in in your members area. I've got the archive calls in the members area when you log into the ACT program.
The text out of it?
if you go to the recordings tab, all the meetings are in there.
Yeah, I got the meetings there. The question is, do you have also the transcript that goes with it?
I don't really generate the transcripts with the meetings. There's a lot of programs that will do that, like Revoicer. If you have a Revoicer account, you can upload a video in there and it'll give you the transcript of it. So transcripts are super easy now with AI.
Mm-hmm.
You can load up any body of work and say, give me a transcript. It's cool stuff. So, all right. Anything else before we wrap up? I know we're on the edge of a holiday here, a holiday weekend, and I hope you guys have a great, safe 4th of July. I still have all 10 of my fingers, so next week I'll let you count them again and make sure they're all there. All right, guys. Well, hey, thank you all for coming on. Mary, it looked like you had a question. Would you?
I did. I was looking for some of the replays of the calls. Are you not listing them anymore?
Yeah, they should all be in there.
Okay, because there was a
are you-
link to the current one, but then it used to have a link to the recordings, but I didn't see it in
Okay.
there.
Yeah, they're all basically in a that same link will get you into the archive, and they're all in there.
Okay, I'll take another look. Thank you.
Yeah, I did stop updating it every week because I realized I didn't have to do that. The one link gets you into the archive, and the most recent one's right there at the top.
Okie doke. Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Have a great 4th of July,
Enjoy
and
the 4th.
be safe. Light up the sky, but don't light your houses on fire.
Amen. Blessings, everyone. Thank you, John.
All right.
Thanks, John. Happy
We
4th.
will, we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.